Tsunesaburo Makiguchi, the father of Soka education, was born to a boatman on the 6th June 1871 in the village of Arahama in present-day Kashiwazaki of Niigata Prefecture, Japan. He was named Watanabe Choshichi. The family was very poor, and after his father went to Hokkaido for work, he never returned. His mother remarried, and Makiguchi was left under his aunt's care when he was 6. From then on, he became the adopted son of Zendayu Makiguchi. Even though he was poor, Makiguchi was always proud to say that he was a commoner in a poor fishing village. After graduating from elementary school, he did not continue his studies, but started to work for a living. Later, he went alone to Otaru in Hokkaido to work as an errand boy in the local police department. Makiguchi was an enthusiastic boy. He would study avidly while working. Later, a superior who appreciated his efforts helped him to enter the Hokkaido Normal School, a teacher's training school. At the age of 22, he graduated and began teaching in the elementary school attached to his alma mater. A day before the eruption of the Russo-Japanese War in 1903, the 32-year-old Makiguchi published his first 1,000-page major works titled A Geography of Human Life. Under these turbulent circumstances, as a scholar who was then unknown to any, Mr. Makiguchi proposed the far-sighted view of global citizenship, whereby humanity takes root in the homeland instead of being over-dependent on the concept of nationalism. His sharp and unprecedented observation was highly recognized in the field of geography. Later, he became a geography teacher in Koben College, teaching a geography of human life. In 1905, Makiguchi established the Dai Nippon Society for Further Education for Young Women, providing correspondence courses for young women whose formal education had ended at elementary school due to financial constraints. He also edited, published, and distributed the further courses for young women. Makiguchi was indeed a pioneer of women's education in Japan. At that time, Japan was a militaristic country. Using the education system, the government indoctrinated the students with blind patriotism. On the other hand, Makiguchi was advocating that education should be for the sake of the children's happiness. He widely provided education to those who did not have access to it, and even prepared meals for his students using his own money. When Makiguchi was 42, he became the principal of Taisho Elementary School. For the next 20 years, he was appointed the principal for many schools and established several later well-known schools in Tokyo. When he was appointed the principal of Mikasa Elementary School in 1920, he met Josei Toda, later his direct disciple, and hired him as one of the teaching staff. He was against the practice of political authority intervening in the education system. Once, he rejected the order for giving privileges to children of those influential in the local society. For that, he was transferred from his position by the manipulation of politicians. His action of being strongly against corruption in the field of education also caused him to be frequently oppressed. As a result, he was forced to retire at an earlier age. In 1928, Makiguchi, who was 57, encountered Nichiren Buddhism. He discovered that Nichiren Buddhism had the power to unlock the potential in people's lives. It was the philosophy for educating people and the basis to the revolution of education. Therefore, he decided to embrace Nichiren Buddhism together with his disciple, Josei Toda. 2 years later, on 18 November 1930, through the tireless efforts of his disciple Josei Toda, Makiguchi published his major works titled The System of Value-Creating Pedagogy. This day was later known as the founding day of Soka Kyoiku Gakkai. The name Soka was born from the dialogue between the mentor and disciple. Hence, it can be said that the origin of the Soka Gakkai's formation is the crystallization of a shared struggle between the mentor and disciple. The Soka Gakkai originally consisted of educators who wished to transform the then existing education system. After many years of growth, it has become an organization that propagates Nichiren Buddhism consisting of members from all walks of life. In World War II, Many religious organizations in Japan chose to support Shintoism, the major religion in Japan that promoted war. Under the pressure and power of politics, the priesthood gave in without much struggle. Similarly, the Soka Gakkai was also asked to accept Shinto talismans. However, Mr. Makiguchi resolutely rejected the idea, opposing those who trample on the freedom of religion and philosophy. He stood firmly by his belief that religion is for the sake of achieving peace and protected the pure lineage of Nichiren Buddhism. With this, the Soka Gakkai became the one and only organization that inherited the true teachings of Nichiren Daishonin. Because of this, Mr. Makiguchi was labeled a thought criminal, and all his involvement in Gakkai activities were closely watched by the high-level criminal police. Nevertheless, he was still bravely communicating with the people, having dialogue and encouraging them unremittingly. For 2 years during the war, he attended some 240 discussion meetings. Despite being monitored, he would still boldly criticize the government for holding on to militarism. The police would always have to stop him from making such comments. Mr. Makiguchi valiantly stood up against evil speeches and spoke about justice. His action was seen as dangerous by the authorities. In July 1943, Mr. Makiguchi and Mr. Toda, together with 19 other Soka Kyo-iku Gakkai leaders, were arrested and imprisoned for opposing the peace preservation law and for not respecting the government. The 72-year-old Mr. Makiguchi was imprisoned for 500 days. Even so, he still spoke up for justice and was unshaken in his beliefs till the end. On 18 November 1944, Mr. Makiguchi passed away in prison at the age of 73 due to malnutrition. Coincidentally, that day was also the founding day of the Soka Gakkai. Mr. Makiguchi sacrificed his life in prison, but his act engraved the most glorious moments in the history of the Soka Gakkai. We, as his disciples, are forever proud and grateful for his bravery and righteousness. Another greatness of Mr. Makiguchi is that he left behind for humanity the system of value-creating pedagogy. The goal of this great collection of academic writings is to enable all students to attain happiness. It has been translated into 14 different languages, as well as being officially adopted and practiced in the United States of America, Brazil, and India. For instance, in Brazil, the Makiguchi project is implemented in accord to the educational ideology of Mr. Makiguchi. Furthermore, many universities are researching on the system of value-creating pedagogy. Mr. Toda, the true disciple, emerged alive from the prison, where his mentor had died. As a result, the greatness and righteousness of Mr. Makiguchi was manifested through the great efforts of Mr. Toda, his genuine disciple. The vision of both Mr. Makiguchi and Mr. Toda was successfully fulfilled by their true disciple, Mr. Ikeda. He founded a complete Soka education system, including kindergartens located in 6 countries, namely Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Brazil, and South Korea. Besides, elementary schools, high schools, and a women's college and a university were established in Japan. The second Soka University was also established in the United States. In the near future, the first Soka International School in the world will be established in Malaysia. This is truly an honor for the disciples in Malaysia. It is also an eternal endeavor in education, marking a shared struggle with our mentor. Mr. Makiguchi is most respected for his unwavering and courageous spirit in the face of great evil or injustice. Throughout his life, Mr. Makiguchi stood firm by his belief when it came to justice, education, and faith. He is forever our role model. With pride and gratitude for his life of justice, let us emulate and propagate his great spirit in this land of Malaysia.